It's me, Pua Grace, and today we are doing a podcast. This is kind of like going to be a weekly thing where we're going to just rant about different things on the lore page, mostly races and certain things like that. This week, we are talking about vampires and vampirism. So I hope you guys enjoy this little podcast of pottiness. Oh, that sounds so bad. I am here.
I applaud your effort.
I am here with Jade and Bam.
Are you ready? Hello.
Hello there.
We have a vampire here who plays a vampire, and then we have...
Wait, no.
No,
How dare you?
We know?
My secrets.
Your secrets? Okay. Okay. I not farted.
Text record.
Okay. We're already starting off at such a great start. Okay. So go ahead and speak. I'll shush.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first massive podcast that I guess we're doing. We're gonna be talking about sanguini linguini today.
Don't.
Everybody knows sanguine is basically like, okay, how do we want to start this? How do we want to start it? Should we just go straight into it, or should we?
What? I don't know the best course of action.
Let's go straight into it.
I was just dragged into this last minute. So
dive in deep, dive in deep or go weep in the freaking corner.
What?
I don't know. Analogies.
Analogies?
Yeah.
Move my head? Alright. So I guess we're gonna just go ahead and get into it.
Yeah.
So, wow, this is a mess already, but that's okay. So, sanguine, who are also known as basically these people who are cursed with vampirism, known by many, like by Wikipedia or commonly folklore, are basically creatures that are void-induced, and it's a blood curse that has been plaguing the world of Eloria that Massivecraft itself has settled in for many years. So, often it's more of seen as a disease and disliked by those within Eloria. And so, hello, Snash. So, as I said, it's disliked by those within Eloria, and it can cause infected to have induced physical actions as well as mental changes. So this ailment can be cured through a very long process. However, many sanguine will attempt to avoid being cured or will seek to be reinfected even after curing. So being a sanguine is also seen as very unholy within the eyes of many, including unionists, Isldar, religious organizations.
It's like a crack addiction.
It's like a crack addiction, yes.
It definitely would, but you get superpowers, It's fine.
Well, I'm not gonna go into detail with that. Never mind. That was gonna be a bad joke.
Oh, good
I was
lord.
gonna say bath bombs, but I don't know.
In any case, this infliction basically sits on the same level of being a demon, and some even are killed by vampire hunters or put away within prison due to such. So many sanguine are often executed by religious organizations, or they tend to hide away their lives within the slums, sewers, or more. And you can even join a coven, like we know many of them, within the server.
Whatchamacallit?
So... There's a lot of covens that you could join if you were interested. So vampires are known throughout lore and their series and their need for blood and to feed on others, and using the power that it grants for their idea of what could be seen as good. So with that, Pua, do you wanna tell us how you get infected?
Yes, I will, but I also want to go over. The point of this podcast is pretty much sharing our opinions, talking about the lore, and saying what we like, what we dislike, and what we think should be changed, even though, I don't know, but if we do think something should be changed, what our opinion is on it and whatnot. So that we're just talking about mainly opinions and the lore and facts and all that good jazz. But I'll talk about how someone could be infected. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but there's different things for each vampire, so not every vampire can infect you, surprisingly. So infection by sanctuary can happen in many ways. Although the most common is being bitten by a vampire, often... Fuck, I got it. Fudge, I text him! Oh no, I cussed!
Just keep going, it's fine, don't worry.
often the infection rate is quite low. So you have a chance of not actually being infected, even though you could be infected. So naturally it may take more than a bite in order to infect you. So like, let's say, oh, you do this and you drink this and woo. Let's see,
That's a very accurate description.
tonic can also be used in order to contract infection with, which can be drunk. Fuck. Wait, dang it! I thought you said there's no cursing rule, and I'm cursing.
I think what you're trying to say here is that like two ways mostly of being infected,
Yes.
although some of them don't really work with some bloodlines. You can be bitten and you can drink their blood like it's some good old apple juice. It depends mostly on what you want to do.
Yeah, and so yeah, but like some bloodlines, however, require ingestion of the blood. So like, let's say, oh well, they bite me, but I can't be infected. So they give you blood, and you drink the blood on accident, and then you're infected.
Oh snap!
And then you're in for a whole lot of fun after the turning process, which tends to hurt quite a bit. It's not the greatest part about turning sanguine, but that's really all that matters. Once you do turn sanguine, which is a hefty process because your body just kind of deteriorates, your lust for blood increases the longer you're in this turning process, but eventually you get some dank powers out of that whole ordeal. Depending on what bloodline you were infected with, of course, and there's plenty of them, plenty to choose from,
Yeah.
although sometimes you don't really get to choose, do you? No, of course not. But
I wish we could though. That would kind of be cool if you could choose.
I mean, I guess so. That could be something to discuss. I think being able to choose, though, would make it so that more people are going to be lenient to like one or two different bloodlines instead of spreading them out a bit
Yeah.
more. Because there's
I think
already a
that's
small
valid.
amount. Yeah, because like there's already a small amount of Zikul and Shalot vampires. Meanwhile, there's plenty of Elice, and I think there's also a good amount of the Dougal, I think, but I'm not quite sure on that one. So basically, there's a lot of one vampire, sort of two, and then there's a few amount of a couple. Being able to choose your bloodline would probably make that a little bit more difficult, because you would just choose the one that's best for you instead of the one you were infected with previously.
Yeah. I kind of like that, though, that now since there's, like... Because back in the old days, there used to just be, like, one type of... Like, two types of vampires, but they all did, like, the same thing. I think the only difference is one kind of looked like a snake, right? Wasn't it, like, one looked like a snake or something? And, like...
I think you're going back to, like, pretty old.
Isldar?
Yeah, like, really old. Like, but, like,
Okay.
now that they have, like, more different, like, choices of vampires, I kind of like the variety, because, like, just... it's, like, a more... It has more expansion to like different options. So like you have the chance of becoming something you didn't even think you would become, kind of thing. So like not just a normal vampire, no, but some type of vampire who manipulates people and causes them to change that way. I also think that, so I read a little bit about how it affects each race differently. So for Isldar, they see the soul rivers and they summon their soul weapons, and I feel like that's I like that they added that to different races, because that gives them a thing that they could either be scared of or excited of. Excited of to become a vampire. So like, for example, for my Isldar, he's like, oh yes, Frist, I love Frist, give me all the Fristy powers. But like,
He's a
like,
religious lad, I guess.
yeah, but
He's the best though. He's a good religious lad.
but like if like he got turned into a vampire, the soul rivers would be gone. Like he wouldn't be able to see them, so he fears that. He's scared that might happen if he becomes a vampire. Like he's scared that if he were to get turned, he wouldn't be able to see the soul rivers, and he'd go into panic. And like that's something I liked, how each character, each race could like feel a different way about turning.
Actually, yeah, going back on the fact, like, vampirism has changed a lot over the course of Massivecraft, because, like, as you said, there was, like, snake things before, 2 bloodlines previously. I think you also had a moment where there were, like, 16 different ones, and I'm not really sure how that worked. I wasn't around for that time, but I did hear that there was a lot of them. I do remember, like, I think that was, like, 2 years ago when you had the Umbrator and stuff like that. That was
yeah. Well,
really
I think it
weird
was more
system.
than 2 years ago, actually. Maybe more than
Sorry?
2 years. Maybe more than 2 years. Maybe like 2.5, 3. I don't know.
Something like that, yeah. I think that system was the closest one that we have to what we have currently. But I think with the Umbra tour that we had, it was only like 3 or 4 different bloodlines, where now I think we have like 8 maybe, or 7. I think having more choice is good, but we don't want to have too much choice. For example, with like the 16 bloodlines that we had previously, I think this is better, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
It's easier to follow along and like easier to like if you're that one specific vampire, you can just go to the lore page and like research what that one specific vampire does that you know won't be exactly like the other.
Exactly. Makes it easier to like study up on what you're gonna have to be, like what niche you're gonna fill, basically. Instead of just being a generalization of what you are, you actually get to go into the specifics of it, which is actually pretty neat.
I got quiet there for a second.
That's alright.
Who are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here.
Ah,
I'm
okay.
worried about
You
the
were fine.
hurricane, okay? I'm worried about the hurricane.
We'll be fine. It doesn't hit for like a week. Calm down. He'll be fine.
A week? Who's outside
Oh,
the
God.
window?
There's somebody here. It's
great.
Nano. Hi, Nano.
Oh goodness.
Okay,
We're already being
just so around-
surrounded by our station. Okay,
Oh God.
We're getting
So,
raided already. We're
let's-
talking
Is the
about
door
heretics.
let's
Yes.
I'll
go
check.
into the different kinds of vampires. Let's like talk about each specific vampire. Like, you don't have to go through all of them, but like the main types. Which are
I can do Elias if you want.
do
Go
what?
ahead.
I can do Elias.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Tell me yours.
We'll talk about the sneaky boys. Okay, so the Elias are like I think they're very popular within Massive community because they're the sneaky boys. You can kind of like sneak past the violence, be like, "Nah, man, I'm not a sanguine. What you mean?"
Oh,
but
those are the
they
ones
were
that have
basically-
like the eyes that are the same color until they like drink blood, right? Yeah, like they're...
So
Oh, are those the
They're the
ones?
one that
Okay, yeah.
so evasive. They're just incredibly. They're just great. No one can really spot them until you mess up. That's really it.
yeah, so they can avoid detection really well. They can. I know even some people can play nobility, and they could be in a Elias bloodline, and nobody would be able to tell. So their eyes do not appear red as many do, but they will turn red only when feeding. Most of them, they do not appear normally, I believe, but their teeth will sort of extend before they feed and then kind of retract back in. Their eye sockets and skin will not change while they're infected, so they won't have red eyes that look like they've been rubbing them. Their skin won't burn in the sunlight as bad as others will.
And don't they
have
look tired a lot, right? They look like either tired or
They
like they've been
definitely look kind
crying.
of tired, yeah.
Most vampires do. Also, on the fact of the sun, I think they removed that change like recently. That no vampire really burns in the sun anymore. I think they introduced hallowed lanterns to fill that niche.
Oh yeah, I believe so.
And they also
So-
like not poison. I wouldn't say poison. I mean like infect some drinks with their blood to get a certain person, like their prey, quote unquote prey, addicted to the taste of their blood so that they'd come back for more. Kind of like an addiction. So like let's say for example, you're addicted to eating sugar, okay? You love sugar so much you always go back to it. And like but it's like times, like let's say you have a craving for, I want ice cream, times that craving by like 30, and that's what you get for that vampire that infects the drink that you're drinking. So it's like withdrawal symptoms like sweating, panic attacks, anger sprouts, things like that if you don't go back. So it's like torturing yourself, pretty much.
I think that's actually
Yeah.
Shiloh bloodline that does that, not the allies.
No, wait, am I talking about the
It's
wrong
possible.
bloodline?
The allies are like the sneaky ones, and then the Shiloh are the ones that drug drinks
Oh,
and make
right,
you
no, I'm
have
talking about the
withdrawal.
shallots.
So we're talking about the sneaky as we refer to them. We refer to them as sneaky boys. Hi Nano, I see you.
Why do I think of shallots as like a type of like fish shell thing? Shallot.
But so to quickly go over the Elias bloodline, so let's keep on track. The Elias are basically they have a very good rogue skill. So say you were going to try and pick a lock, or you're trying to attempt a theft, or like pickpocket someone. when you failed, or say that they detected you after doing a false dice roll, you can also perform a second as a saving grace from like failure. But if that one fails, there can't be another roll. They can also activate like this body camouflage, which requires like 10 perception in order to see through. So standing still makes them look like completely invisible, but any movement whatsoever from them will still knock them out of the effect, and they can still produce sound, heat, cold. So attacking somebody will break both the camouflage and the invisibility, but yeah, it gets pretty, after a while, the camouflage is very useful, but it can only be reinitiated after 3 minutes when it was last broken. So, like, say, like, a Grey Witch walked up to Sanguine hiding on a wall or something, and they knocked him out. Like, not knocked him out, but knocked him out of place. They would have to wait 3 minutes in order to get it back, because it would have been knocked out during combat, and they can't, like, be like, "Ooh, sneaky boy, I'm gonna walk up to the next wall I see and go back invisible."
Yeah. So, wait. What vampire was that? The shallots? Yeah, like, I was talking about shallots or whatever. But,
Yeah.
back to that, for the second one, I guess. So yeah, so pretty much they can do that, so they can have like so if one decides to, they can have like a whole army of people who are addicted to them, and it's, in my opinion, it's quite powerful.
Alarid should do that. I believe you should. I petition to have an army of people infected to his
what's it called? I feel like I'm not gonna say any names for like meta or like anything for people to like base it off of, but I remember Kovis was being like, what is the word I'm looking for? It was being kind of that happened with him with a vampire. Like a vampire was getting him addicted to her drink, and and Kovis tried to like refrain from drinking it because he realized it was making him feel like really weird, and his friend kind of told him like, "Hey, this is bad news, man." But I realized that
juju right there. That's some bad juju.
Oh yeah, but I figured out that they were doing it to other people too, and like there was like several people that were addicted to their drink, and I'm like, what if they made like a whole army of people, you know, like got on their side and like just told them to do whatever, and they do it for like just a drink. Like to me that just sounds like really crazy. Like if someone were to do that, how overpowered that would be. And oh goodness,
it would be very overpowered. I think it would be very cool though if we could see something like that in game. I think
that'd be so
most
cool.
people don't really think about all the different capabilities you can do. I think if somebody did attempt that and they were able to, that would definitely be really cool to see.
That would be good for like a progression. Like if like a vampire like poison like put their blood in a water supply, and a lot of people like started having problems like addiction or whatever. I don't know if that works that way.
An army of drunk people storming Greygate because they just want more drink.
They just wanted, so they're just like, no man, we want more of that delicious alcohol. Wink wonk.
Oh goodness, we're having a crowd form outside of our window.
Oh my goodness.
They want our heads because we're talking about heretic matters.
Like this is like
a
newsroom now. Like, you know, those people who like surround the outside.
This is our last news show. We're gonna die.
Oh my goodness, that would be interesting. Not gonna lie.
Anything else we can talk about?
I don't think we talked about the rest of the bloodlines. We can probably briefly go over them.
Yeah, let's briefly go over them. We recorded for like 18 minutes. We need to.
Yeah.
I mean, you can like the bloodlines are basically two kind of groups. You have those that are more combat focused, and you have those who are more not combat focused, and the ones that are not really into combat, like the Allies and the Shalot and your Zakil kind of as well. And then you have the Dougal and the Dorkarth and all that, which are a bit more made into combat. They're pretty good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So basically, it all depends on which group you want to discuss first, because there's two of them, maybe three, but most definitely at least two kind of groups.
Talk about most popular, I guess. Most popular?
What is the most popular one? Because we discussed Allies, which I think is a crowd favorite, really. I think most people really like those. What we can do is
you
just
see around in roleplay.
I don't really know because
Ezekiel,
vampires are...
Creepin, they'd like to, Smash Promo would like us to go over Ezekiel soon. So let's make sure we get it over that.
Ezekiel?
Yeah,
We can
sure,
go over
that
that
sounds
now.
good. If we can go over Ezekiel if you want, that's fine.
Yeah, let's go over Ezekiel.
Yeah. She just says she wants to see it, so let's do that
Okay.
next. So,
Okay.
anyway, continue.
Basically, Ezekiel are your big ol' edgy, I'm floating and hovering everywhere right now, boys. If you want to play a smart vampire who just wants to have as much knowledge as he possibly can and look very cool while doing it, you probably want to go for Ezekiel because whilst you have your bloodlines that are just very sneaky, like the allies, or just beating people's skull in, like the Von Kell or just anyone else, Ezekiel are kind of a laid-back kind of vampire that basically does their own thing, trying to get as much knowledge as they can, although their mutations are really cool. So, whilst most vampires have an eye change color of like red or something like that, even though some don't, some do, Ezekiel are the only ones that get another kind of color in their eyes, which is icy blue, which you basically turn into a lich for some reason, but I guess that's their whole niche, being lichy skeleton boys. Their eyes are not red, they're blue, but they do start glowing while feeding, so you turn into a nightlight. That's pretty cool.
Just imagine that, like, all of a sudden, it's dark, I can't see a thing! Here, bite me, we can see!
That would be funny. If I believe, they consider them liches, correct?
Yep, they're considered liches. Ezekiel are like the lich vampires, pretty much. It even states so in their description. They really just like knowledge and all that stuff. The cool thing is because they are kind of like the magical vampires, you know, the mage wards that people set up, they have the ability to break them just like a witch blood or another mage could. So
There's more people outside.
Of course there are. Let's hope they don't break our windows down. But
Don't break. Oh, it's Nebula. Hello, Nebula.
You broke it!
Hold on, I'll fix it.
we gave him an entrance.
Oh no! Oh no!
Alright.
But yeah,
You saw anything.
if you want to break a mage ward as a coven, you're gonna want to get yourself Ezekiel. They're the only ones out of the vampire bunch that can actually break these things properly. They're kind of cool. I like them a lot. They're probably one of my favorite ones. The thing that I think most people really like is the aesthetic of Ezekiel, because you get certain mutations like Haunting Lich, which literally turns you into Sans Undertale, which allows you to float and just do all kinds of weird stuff.
The genie from Aladdin floating, becoming blue, you know?
Pretty much, they're the Will Smith. Okay.
There's more people. There's even more people outside.
Goodness. But I think we're good. I think we covered a few things about vampires, and
Well,
so
let's go over our opinion. We
yeah,
go over
we can go over
opinions.
opinions real quick.
Sounds fine to me.
Jade,
Alright,
you go
so...
first.
Me?
Yes, go over your opinions.
Oh gosh, okay. I think the lore, I like the lore. I definitely think it's very varied. Considered to other lore. Snash is saying that Sans is still cursed, so gotta keep that.
You are very true, Smash.
I think it was very well written because I definitely see a lot of vampires in different Discord or different roleplay, different kind of lore and settings, and they're always just that modern stream. Oh, Dracula drinks your vampire, you big nerd.
I mean, those definitely still exist. It's just a minority now.
But now they've made it so that, you know, you can use holy water against them. Some of these, like in folklore in the game, they usually think, oh, Sanguine can walk in sunlight. They can't walk in sunlight and stuff, but they can pretty much do fine, and they more of a fine. Wow, English is not my best. Sorry about that.
Aren't you supposed to be able to actually speak English?
No, there's more people outside of the window.
No, you're not supposed to speak English?
English? No, we're gonna start speaking Spanish.
No, I don't actually.
Hola,
I'm sorry,
¿cómo
I speak
estás? Muy
American.
bien.
Anyway, I think that it's very, like I was saying, they've definitely written the lore to be so much better than what I see in different places where it's just like, oh, vampire. I bit your neck. You're infected now. Go have fun. So I think it's definitely one of those more interesting things you don't normally see. And I like the way that they've written it. I think it could definitely use a bit less hype. I do think that Sanguine are just a little overdone. But I do like the way that they've written them. I think they've done a really well job on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Pua? What's your opinion on Sanguine?
I'd say I like it. I feel like I don't know. I'd be like, I don't know how people would feel about this, but like, what if like you were able to only play a vampire if you had an accepted app, just like an accepted app in general to play a vampire?
Not just for mutations.
Well, yeah, but
out.
like, I feel like if vampires wind up getting out of hand and too many people are playing them, it's not going to be as, what's the word I'm looking for?
Interesting.
As special, as interesting. So like, let's say if, like, say half the server becomes vampires, I feel like there should be a rule on you can only have a vampire if you have an accepted app. You don't have to have special perms for it. It just has to be an application. But I also like that, like I said before, I like how they made the vampire curse different for each race, how they would feel about it, kind of thing. Yeah, that's what I gotta say. You bra.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people outside of our
We're being stormed, and we're all gonna die.
Alright, well,
So,
let's get Bram's
actually,
opinion.
About that character application for vampire things, I'm going to touch on that first, because the problem with that is if you do somehow infect a person that is not having a character application, they would have to make one just because of that. Another thing, most people wouldn't make a vampire without a sheet anyway, because they do not gain access to the mutations without actually having an application.
Okay, I take that back. I take it back, all of it. Take all of it back.
Most people use vampirism for mutations. There's no way to go around it. You wouldn't play one probably without mutations. Not to say that you can't, and that would probably be another idea in and of itself. But most of the people that make their applications for vampires do take some of the mutations. They're just that good. I think, however, that vampires are in a very good state right now, especially with the traditions that have been written like a few weeks ago, I think. It was pretty neat. It gives vampires a little bit of culture to work around, instead of just making them mindless slaves of the void in some kind of way. It makes them look like they've been around for a while. It gives them culture to actually work on, and I think this is probably one of the better iterations compared to the ones that we've had in the past. They're doing pretty good with this. I think they've done really good on this system. And I think it's also very good that they removed the basic trope of you will literally die in the sun, because no one really liked that. It just prevented people from attending certain events, and that just made things a little harsh. I'm kind of glad they got rid of that. Hallowed lanterns, I've yet to see them appear, but I think they're a very good substitute.
Who uses hallowed lanterns? Is it strictly
mostly the guards?
Is it limited to Violet Order, or?
I'm pretty sure mostly the guards have them, and if you want to get one, you would have to like steal one or get one in progresssion. I think currently only the guards have access to those.
I think it's kind of like Violet armor, like how
okay, so similar like a crossbow as well.
Yeah.
Because like Violets only have crossbows, you can only get guard. Okay.
Anyways,
I kind of want to see somebody try and attempt to like, I guess maybe not steal one, but like manage to get their hands on one and see if they can find like a way like. Just ideally not like on an OC level, I think they would be able to find a way to kind of like counteract them, because I know some people will start to have issues with them if I say like the guards like say like let's just give a random example. A Cade gets like taken by a hierarchy or like a coven or something, and they're like, oh snap, this Cade got taken. Imperial orders to flood the sewers. Hallowed lanterns, because we know it's the same Guini Linguinis. I feel like it would be in their like general good interest. Jesus Christ!
I've been informed there's 6 people outside.
It's fine.
There was 9 a little while ago.
I think I should wrap up the video here. But anyways, this is kind of our rant podcast about vampirism. If you guys want to suggest a different topic, a different race, leave it down in the comments below so that next time we can talk about what you guys want us to talk about. So yeah, hope you guys like the podcast, and see you guys next Wednesday. Woo! Bye!
Oh, wait, it's Wednesday already, isn't it?
What?
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
Oh no.
Hurricane! Wait, I'll be back next Wednesday if the hurricane doesn't kill me.